Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be taking a little dive into r/relationships. I feel like we've not done an r/relationships in ages. We probably have, and I've just forgotten. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to with me today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. And of course, quick little disclaimer before we start. Any opinions that I give on the posts we read are just opinions. They are not facts, do not need to be taken as such. If you have a differing opinion, do feel free to leave it in the comments below. Would love to hear it. Just make sure you're keeping it respectful with each other. There is no need to be mean just because you do not agree. With that being said, let's get into it then, shall we? Okay then, so first post posted by sunnydays093. My husband's martyrdom is driving me up the wall. My husband, 29M, is a very sweet guy, but I'm 29F, realising that a lot of his identity is kind of hinges on being a martyr. Always self-sacrificing, always doing things for people that they didn't ask for. Everyone thinks he's just the sweetest, most pure guy in the world. And many times he is, but no one sees the other side of the coin where he's completely bitter and resentful. He feels that he gives more than he gets, and he doesn't get the things he deserves for how much he sacrifices. That is the problem though, isn't it? When you are putting yourself well out of your comfort zone or whatever, or, you know, just really putting yourself out there for people. If you do that for people, if you want to do nice things for people, you want to go out of your way for them, yes, it's nice to get it back, but you can't expect that because you chose to do that. And again, it is nice for things to be reciprocated. I'm not saying it's not. And in an ideal world, it always would be. But if you off your own back choose to do those things and then get bitter and pissy when you don't get it back, maybe it's time to stop. Maybe it's time to just go, do you know what? I'm taking a bit of a step back. I'm prioritizing me for a while. And that's okay, by the way. Perfectly okay to do that. You do not need to be the carer of everybody. Sometimes you need to be the carer for yourself. A lot of the time, he acts like he's at my service. But randomly, if he doesn't get his way, he'll blow the whole situation out of proportion and list all the things he's done for me as reasons why he deserves to get his own way. Yeah, no, that's not okay. You can't do that. You cannot do things for people without being asked and then throw it in their face. They didn't friggin' ask you, mate. Don't do that. That's really manipulative and shitty. This hurts because it makes his actions feel disingenuous, and I'm hyper independent because of childhood neglect, so it's extra painful for me in particular to feel someone is taking care of me who doesn't want to be. I've expressed this so many times. This also extends to work. He'll work 60 to 70 hours a week doing tasks that no one asked him to do because he wants everyone to see him as perfect. Sounds like husband needs a bit of therapy. It's getting to the point where I'm questioning if I know him, or are his actions all guided by people pleasing? How do I deal with this? Are there any reformed people pleasers out there who can share their story? I feel insane and I'm so sick of the martyr doormat persona. And to be honest, it's a huge turn-off as well. I thought he'd grow out of it, but it's only getting worse. Yeah, that's the thing though, isn't it, right? Because I can completely understand where this OP's coming from, because yeah, it's lovely if someone wants to go out their way to do things for people, blah, blah, blah. But if they're only doing it expecting something in return, or expecting to be able to use it to throw in your face at a later date, it does become really disingenuous. And it becomes, to me, in my eyes, pretty manipulative, actually. And I think a lot of people don't even realise that that's what they're doing either. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realise that when they're going out of their way to do stuff for people, in their head, they're telling themselves, I'm doing it just to be nice. But then in the future, they are definitely going to throw it back in your face. But they don't see it like that. They completely separate the two different situations. I think at that point, I'd be like, look, if you don't do something about this and seek some help for this vicious cycle, very toxic cycle of things that you are doing here, we may have to have a discussion about our relationship, because I can't have you throwing things in my face every time you don't get your way that you decided to do in the first place. So, down in the comments, Casual Law says he really should be in therapy and learning about codependency and working on his boundaries. There's not much you can do beyond encouraging him to get help and holding your own boundaries. I didn't ask you to do those things. This conversation is over if you continue speaking to me that way, etc. He can absolutely overcome this, but it's going to take effort and it's not something anyone else can do for him. To be honest, I don't think saying to someone like that I didn't ask you to do those things is helpful, because you say to them, I didn't ask you to do that. They see that as you trying to manipulate them. Like, they don't see it in the way that, no, they literally didn't ask you to do that, mate. Like, you did that yourself, because there is like this thing within them that makes them feel so obligated to do all these things for people. And it's something they've put on themselves, by the way. It's nothing put on them by other people. Well, sometimes it might be, but typically it's something they're putting on themselves, an expectation on themselves that they have put there. So then when you turn around and say that, in their mind, that's actually not true, because, well, I'm expected to do these things. Like, they know they did it themselves, but in a weird way, it's like you convince yourself that you're expected to as well. But yeah, either way, it's definitely something that needs to be worked on, that's for sure. And they can get better, they can. So OP replies to that saying, thank you, he is in therapy and I have firm personal boundaries. I've used both of those phrases almost verbatim in the past week alone. I hate to go to HR, therapy speak, but sometimes you gotta. So, next post posted by Expulsito. Whenever my mum discovers I have a hobby, she forces me to do that hobby. Oh, great. That's a great way to put someone off that hobby for life. Oh my goodness. How do I get her to stop forcing me to do my hobbies? She forces me to the point that I don't want them to be hobbies anymore. I'ma give you one example of this phenomenon. Okay, so I, 16M, recently started skateboarding as a hobby. I like to wake up early in the morning and go to a nearby church's parking lot, since I have social anxiety and really don't like other people looking at me while I skateboard. I wish to remain unbothered. Oh, don't we all, OP? Don't we all? This church parking lot is very secluded and no one is there to bother me. When my mum 42F discovered this hobby of mine, she was pretty supportive, I suppose. Okay, sweet, that's good, I guess. I suppose this is because she doesn't want me to just stay in my room all day. The issue is, she gets too passionate about what hobbies I have, and skateboarding is no exception. I usually skateboard most mornings, but sometimes I don't due to wanting to do other things. This morning my mum was like, why don't you want to skateboard? Why don't you want to skateboard? Which is annoying. I don't want to be constantly questioned about my hobbies, but still, no big deal. My mum got angry though that I'm not constantly or consistently enough pursuing my hobby. She got angry that I was at home. At 1 PM, she forced me to go outside with my skateboard. Ugh, at 1 PM, there's just so many people looking at me. Too many people awake. I told her I don't want to do it right now, but she yelled at me and made me. Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? When you feel forced and obligated to do your hobbies, they become a chore and not a hobby anymore. You're just gonna put people off. And what's wrong with just having a relaxed hobby that you just dabble in now and then that you enjoy? We all should have something like that. It helps to, relax your nervous system a bit, chill you out. She legit, like one would walk a dog, walked me, bro. She literally forced me to ride my skateboard next to her while she walked around the neighborhood. Bro, what the F? She was legit walking me like a dog. That's embarrassing. I was pissed, bro. I was just not in the mood to skateboard at all. And there were people passing us on the other side of the road, walking their dogs and waving at us. I'm not social. I don't want to wave back. I hate that these people are looking at me. It's embarrassing. I know I look goofy being led around the neighborhood being forced to skateboard by my mum. I was trying to tell her, hey, I don't want to do this. But she would respond by yelling, and I was embarrassed because I don't want the whole neighborhood to hear us arguing. I'm not even arguing. I just don't want to hear her yelling at me. She walked me, led me, made me skate to an abandoned house and was like, go around in circles on the driveway. Do it, do it, do it. Oh my God. And she made me go around in circles in the driveway. The issue was that since I was being forced to do it, I was just not in the mood, bro. I wanted to stop. So obviously, if I was in a bad mood, I'd be bad at skating. And like, bro, I fell off my board and scraped my hands and my board went across the road. And she made me walk and collect my board that it was across the road. So I had to do a walk of shame. It was embarrassing, man. And it like honestly destroyed the passion I had for skateboarding. I just straight up don't want to do it anymore after being forced. I reckon she thinks that she's helping me by encouraging me to pursue passions and hobbies, but no, bro. She just forces me to do shit when she discovers I have a hobby, which ends up making me hate the hobby. I know this isn't really that big of a deal, so perhaps the way it affects me psychologically isn't apparent in this text of mine, but even if it's nothing major, it still sucks, man. Now, I completely get it, because at the end of the day, if you keep teaching your kid that hobbies become a chore, hobbies become something to resent or just not enjoy anymore, they're going to grow up not knowing how to have hobbies anymore. And hobbies become important when you are an adult in the workplace and need a release. You need to do something other than going and like drinking at the pub, you know? Hobbies are an important and healthy release from day-to-day life. And you have to interact with hobbies in a healthy way. Yeah, of course, some people can very healthily get very obsessed with their hobbies and it doesn't interrupt their day. But that's because they choose to do it that way. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when it's being forced upon you, yeah, it just sucks the life out of it. I'm not going to go to that church parking lot tomorrow. I was planning to. I was going to use this day to just chill and then skateboard tomorrow. But she forced me to do stuff I don't want, and I just don't want to do my original plans anymore. Get what I mean? Yeah, I do. I completely get it. I just wish she'd leave me alone and not be breathing down my neck when it comes to my own personal interests. I've known my mum, 42F, since I was born, bro. Yeah, of course you have, yeah. And she's always been like this. This is why I never share my hobbies with her, but unfortunately she discovered that I like to skateboard and ruined my vibes. This is gonna sound harsh, but I think it's because she has no friends, so she like is too attached, or like too, I don't know how to phrase it, too into my business, you know? Am I like overreacting? Is this like a normal thing for a parent to do to their kid? I get encouraging your kid. I don't think it's a normal thing to be like this. Say like if your kid decides they're into jewelry making, you want to show a little bit of interest in their hobby. So you say, oh, could you make me a bracelet? Or, oh, I'll buy you some beads or something. And then you just leave them to it. Let them crack on with their hobby. Like, or if they're really into art, you'd be like, oh, you know, let's have a look at what you've been doing then. Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah, right then. I'll leave you to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how you can show interest without ruining it for them. What do I do to get her to stop bothering me and stop forcing me to do things after she discovers what I'm passionate about? Also, I feel like this is the reason I have no hobbies. Yeah, probably. Oh, another example of this is when I mentioned to my mum that I want to learn Spanish, and she forced me to sit at a table for 4 hours and yelled at me if I wasn't like reading about Spanish conjugation. She yelled at me if I got distracted. I stopped wanting to learn Spanish, yeah. I imagine you probably did, bless you. Another example is when I started like working out and doing push-ups and lifting weights and stuff. When she discovered I was doing this, she was like, oh, that's great, and then forced me to do it. She forced me to exercise, bro. Like, if I didn't do an hour of exercise, she would yell at me and take my phone away. Yeah, that's too much. That's too much. You're just gonna put your poor kid off ever having any hobby and ruin it all for them. And then they're going to be very depressed because they've got nothing to be passionate about anymore. So, down in the comments, Redwinger D says, I've known my mum since I was born, bro. This got a chuckle out of me. Yeah, me too. And then TCLMC says, I wish to remain unbothered, and she was legit walking me like a dog. Took me out, honestly. Yeah. Other tier says, definitely not normal. Kids and adults change hobbies, have more than one, get busy, lose interest, etc. You mentioned your mum doesn't have any friends. Does she have hobbies that she does on her own? And is she doing something when you're out of the house she feels she can't do when you're there? After all, the Spanish and other hobbies would be done at home. I don't know how to change her behaviour, honestly, but don't let her kill your passion. If you like something, keep at it, even if you gotta fake sucking, take a break, or just hide somewhere so she thinks you're doing hobby A instead of whatever else. One day you'll be independent and can do your own thing. So then the OP replies saying, nah, she doesn't have any of her own hobbies. There's nothing she's doing on her own when I'm out of the house besides looking at Facebook. And there we go. She's trying to live vicariously through the OP then, I believe, personally. Yeah, she's trying to force the hobbies onto the OP because she doesn't have anything of her own that she's kind of passionate about. Maybe she's very self-aware of that and doesn't like that. So is trying to then live vicariously through the OP, force them into being really passionate about something. Yeah, I don't know how you broached that one, but I definitely think a conversation needs to be had. Okay then, so last post for the day. I only made this to vent says, how do I support a hobby I absolutely hate? Oh, another one about hobbies. Me, 27F, him, 29M. 8 years. My boyfriend has been collecting Pokemon cards for maybe about a year now. It has slowly turned into his only personality. Pokemon this, Pokemon that, everything he talks about is Pokemon cards. He'll watch cards opening videos on his phone whenever he's home, researching prices, etc. He has probably drained thousands of dollars into this. The second he gets money, it goes to ripping packs. See, I think it's fine to have a hobby, like I said before, that you're very passionate about and that you really like to partake in on the daily even sometimes, if that is the way you choose it. When it starts to become that you're sinking absolutely tons of money into it, like an unreasonable amount, maybe it's time to look at it as less of a hobby and more of an addiction. Maybe even a gambling addiction, because these are Pokemon cards, so it's kind of the thrill of not knowing what you'll get. I feel like no one ever uses Pokemon cards, by the way, to play the game. Has anyone noticed that? Because they are supposed to be to play a game, but everyone just collects them. Like when I was a kid, it was like you trade them. And they got banned from the school, so we all had to like stand in the corner of the playground, like doing some drug deal or something, like, I'll trade you this for this, like really slyly. Edit. We just recently got into a position where we can have our own money, and he only uses his money for this. The past year, 2 years, was rough due to him not really bringing in a paycheck. I want to prioritise saving for a house, emergency savings, etc. I feel bad that I can't get excited for him when he shows me something he is excited for. I just see it as buying cardboard. Typically, how it goes. I just pulled this card. It's worth $50. Okay. Don't get me wrong, I have a few, like 10 cards of my own that I like, but that's it. I don't have any interest on expanding a collection. I don't get itchy when I haven't cracked a pack in a while. But still, I remind myself that this is also a hobby, and we as partners should support and share interests or excitements towards each other's passions. I don't want him to feel like he can't show me something that makes him happy. Like, I have hobbies and interests that I want him to be excited to hear about. I know it is a two-way street. This one is just hard for me to get over. So I really feel like this is like the opposite version of the post we've just read. So instead of it being someone having their hobby forced onto them, this person is forcing their hobby onto someone else constantly. And that is just as irritating if you're the person on the receiving end. So again, I'm quite happy to listen to someone about stuff they're passionate about, but if it is all they will talk to you about 24/7, constantly, it's gonna get boring for you because obviously you're not as passionate about it as they are. So, you know, there's got to be like a healthy balance. The husband needs to find that healthy balance. He tells me it's not for the money, but the only time he talks about the cards with me, it's all money talk. Every now and then he shows me a card he does genuinely think is cool for the art. It feels like a gambling addiction. Bingo. He's had a scratch-off addiction at one point in his life, but he was able to overcome it. I feel like this has developed into something similar. I just know there's characters from our childhood printed on them. Yeah, I feel like this is more about the addiction of opening them than it is actually a hobby, to be fair. If he's not even bothered by what's on the cards, he's only bothered by about the monetary value. Yeah, this is not a passion for Pokemon cards, it's a passion for opening and seeing if he's got one that's worth a lot, I feel. It's frustrating. I want to be there for him and not shut down his excitement, but my own hatred for the hobby as a whole definitely shows on my face whenever he talks about it. Ever since he got into this Pokemon cards collecting thing, my attraction to him has tanked. We've definitely had other issues in the past that has worsened it, but his whole personality is Pokemon cards. That's not the guy I fell in love with. He used to have so many other hobbies and interests, and now it's just buying cards. There is a hint there that maybe there's a bit of an addictive personality problem going on here, because obviously he's had an addiction to scratch cards before. So yeah, maybe something more needs to be done to address this. Edit, even when it comes to us trying to make plans on the weekend, I'll suggest things for us to do, some things even being related to his past interests, and we don't really go through with it. Oh, but there's a card show happening this weekend, he makes sure he can go. Ugh. And then edit, I just got home from work and the first thing he showed me today was an in-detail spreadsheet he made this morning of his most valued cards and their monetary value. Yeah, this is definitely more of an addiction, for sure, and I can totally see why the OP would be getting frustrated with this, because if it's all he talks about, he's not making time for the OP, but he can make time for these card shows and things like that. Yeah, no, it gets very frustrating, very much so. I completely understand. So, down in the comments, Negotiation Week 1004 says, this is a hobby for many, but not the way he's doing it. He is an addiction. He has an addiction. He needs an intervention and some therapy, as this is clearly impacting your lives and relationship. And then Rogue Troll says, I want to get into it as well, but I spent $20 on 400 plus cards. Are they all trash? There's no way to know because I'm not going to Google them, LOL. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter if they're all trash. If you like the cards, who cares? Like, that was supposed to be the point of it. People would trade cards so that they could get the full collection when I was a kid. It was about getting the full collection, getting there eventually, having all the shinies and all the bits. It was never about how much they cost. But still, weirdly, no one ever played the actual game. And I don't think people really do now, which is so weird because that is literally the point in them, to play the game. Okay then, so I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the Governor Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Don't forget to leave an offering of a comment for Big Al. Bye!